Hi, gorgeous neurodivergent souls. This is Robbie from InnerPowered Life again. And for those of you who are not familiar with me, I am a late diagnosed ADHDer, and I went through my own personal journey of bullying and abuse recovery. And I started this channel and my coaching business as I was going through my journey and wanting to empower other people in my community to be able to break out of the cycle of being bullied and being the victim, and to help you all understand that you can take your power back from bullies and abusers and to live authentically as you are as a neurodivergent person. So this is the third part of my identity series. And in the previous ones, we talked about how our identity can be shaped by taking on what abusers and bullies have projected onto us, and also by operating in limiting beliefs that we've acquired throughout our life in different ways. And what I want to talk about in this segment is masking as an identity. And if you are particularly a late diagnosed adult, you probably have realized that you spent a lot of at least your adolescence and probably most of your adult life masking. And I think a lot of us get to a point where once we discover, oh, I'm masking, and knowing that masking is like a thing, um, we can almost get to like an identity crisis where we're like, okay, where does the masking end and my real personality begin? And for a lot of us, the only way we can survive, particularly in workplaces, and if we were um, in relationships with neurotypical people who did not accept how we were very high masking to survive. And a lot of us, if we've tried to unmask, even if we were unmasking, we didn't have a word for it, might have gotten pushback and it didn't feel safe. And we're not sure who we are or what that means. For those of us who are aware that we were masking and understand now the difference between masking and when we're unmasked, some of us may not sure do we like the unmasked version of us because it's weird and we've gotten pushback. And not having a sense of self is disempowering, because then you will take whatever's put on you, or you will take pieces of other people and things and adopt that as your identity, even though it's not yours. And everybody does that to a degree, right? Like, we'll take things from our society or culture that we're in and do that, or a family of origin, or a workplace culture, or a friend group culture. I had a coworker many years ago who I realize now was autistic and ADHD, and he said to me, you know, how our personalities are basically an amalgam of everybody we've ever known. And it made sense to me at the time. And from his language, now looking back, I was like, oh yeah, obviously he was a neurodivergent. But he was right, because that is how a lot of people function. And a lot of us function as neurodivergent adults because we do a lot of scripting just to survive. So if you are at a point in your journey, or maybe you've come around to this several times and you're still processing, of what is your masking and what is your authentic self. First thing to consider is, even when you're masking, you are still doing it in a way that is authentic and unique to you. If you and I were in the same situation with the same people and the same things going on, and it had to be a high masking kind of thing, the way I do it would be different than how you do it, because we're wired differently. We have our own personalities, our own filtering systems. We would approach it all a little bit different. We would still be masking and not completely letting it all hang out, but we would be doing it in the authentic, unique way that we mask. If you are interested in really trying to figure out, okay, what does it mean masking? What does it mean not? How do you act when you're by yourself? When there's nobody else there around watching you, or if you're online and it's like a group where there's not coworkers or somebody who's going to find you. What do you say? What do you think? How do you act? When you're sitting at home, do you sit like, which a lot of us do. Do you spend a lot of time immersed in your special interests that are not interests that your neurotypical coworkers or friend group or neighbors or family members, whoever, like? Yeah. Um, that's you unmasked. The thoughts that go through your head, the unfiltered, your internal dialogue, what comes before you change it is you unmasked. Once you start understanding that and seeing how this is different than what you present in a lot of mainstream situations, you can kind of tell the difference in these different aspects of yourself. Again, it's still all part of you. It's just how you're presenting in different situations. What is challenging for a lot of us is, okay, I feel bullied into masking all the time, and I get attacked if I try to do something that feels more authentic, but I can't keep masking. How do I navigate this, and how do I become more authentic, even in situations where I know I need to mask? And I have found, like, for the most part for me, this arises in work situations in neurotypical workplaces. If I'm with other neurodivergent people, it's kind of not a thing. Or if I'm with neurotypical people who know that I'm autistic and ADHD, and I'm super open about it. Once I got my diagnosis, I was like, yeah. Because I'm just like that. In places where I still have to mask, like the customer service attitude, that we all get if you work ever anywhere outside of your house. Best way to start bringing in more unmasked versions of yourself is simple ways, like a coworker asks, "Hey, what did you do this weekend?" And you can say, "Oh, I spent the weekend working on whatever your special interest is," right? Like you can say, "Oh, yes, I spent my weekend sewing my costume for the Renaissance Festival because I've always been super interested in this. It's one of my special interests," or fixing things or designing things or taking care of dogs or plants or research, whatever your special interests are, right? Let them know you've been doing that and do what I call micro dumping, which is not your whole everything you know about your special interests. Excuse me. It's just a little bit to let people know I did this. It's a very important interest to me. Yeah, it's kind of different, but that's what I do when I'm not here at work with all you people. Um, that lets them know there's more to you than what they see. It's a safe way of expressing your uniqueness, and you'd be surprised how many people you would connect with and find like other neurodivergent people by doing this. It is also empowering to you because you are able to be authentic and you get more confident as you do these things where you little bit by little bit start expressing more of yourself. You become more confident in who you are as a neurodivergent person, and in unmasking when it's safe and when it's appropriate, and incorporating all of this. Another way that's super helpful in workplaces is a lot of us we want to know why, we want to know details, we want first you do this, then you do this. And that can annoy coworkers and it annoys bosses, and they think you're arguing, they think you're stupid, and yeah, like we've probably almost all dealt with that. The way I have learned to get around this, and also I have delayed auditory processing, so I hear people's voices and then it takes like a minute for the meaning to kick in. And I have learned to say, I'm not arguing with you. I just want to make sure I understand. You want me to do this and then this and then this because of this, this, and this. I just want to make sure that I'm doing it right. This lets them know you're not arguing and you're not stupid. You are professionally asking for clarification for what you're supposed to do. Doing this is also empowering because you're letting them know that you do think a little bit differently, but you can still navigate it. You accept that you're wired this way and it's fine. And I also, because I know I have delayed auditory processing now, I didn't know that what it was for a while, but now I know. I'll tell them, I'm sorry, I heard your voice, but it didn't all quite click. I have delayed auditory processing, so I hear you, but then it takes a minute for the interpreter to work. This, I tell them that, or the translator for it to work. Unless somebody's like a complete, absolute jerk, they can at least understand a medical delayed auditory processing and be like, oh, yeah, okay, blah, 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 right? Okay. It's always good to be able to fall back. Hey, like I'm wired. I need step by step, or can I write this down? Can you give me a minute to write this down, or can you send it to me so that I know? Again, a complete abusive jerk will give you mess about it, but that tells you who they are. And it also tells you that you're probably in a very misaligned place, right? So you can start maybe navigating how to get out of that. But these little things are huge for your own sense of who you are and validating who you are and embracing your own uniqueness and being fine with that. To be able to come into a space and be like, yeah, I think this way, I do this, these are my interests. If you if you don't feel confident saying that you're autistic or ADHD, or maybe you're not formally diagnosed and you don't want to say that unless you know for sure, which that's the whole thing. I think most of us who are late diagnosed were self-diagnosed before we got a diagnosis, and it's not always accessible to a lot of people for financial reasons, or it's not a thing in your country, or there can be a lot of reasons. So I don't debate any of that. But for anybody who has issues, or you're worried about imposter syndrome and you don't want to say that, or you're going to get pushback, that's fine. Do whatever you have to do to keep yourself safe, and feel good with yourself, but also start incorporating, hey, internally, I'm this, and that's fine. And I think this way, and it's fine. And my interests are like this, and it's fine. And I'm unique, and I'm valuable, and I'm interesting because I'm not like everybody else. And I'm good with that. Once you are good with yourself, you have a lot less, there's a lot less opening for bullies and abusers to do stuff to you. Now, they will also try to take down confident people too, because they're bullies and abusers, and that's how they roll. It also doesn't mean that there won't be times of self-doubt, because that happens to all of us. But having a kind of an underpinning of, I know who I am, and maybe it's weird, but I'm good with that, puts you in a lot less vulnerable place emotionally and mentally than you might have been before, when you were just, everybody thinks I'm weird and I don't know why, or I'm afraid to let people know, or whatever kind of thing. You are valuable and valid exactly the way that you are. If all of us had been the same, nothing would get done in the world. It takes all of the different kinds and all the different creative abilities and all the different analytic abilities and the different skills, and even the differences in communication and the thought process to make everything work. So you're perfectly fine. Honor that, stand in that, start incorporating that openly in ways that are safe for you. And I understand, like, there are some societies where you have to be super, super careful. Do what you need to do within where you are to keep yourself safe, but you don't have to hide. You don't have to hide all the time, and you don't have to constantly apologizing for being the way that you are created to be. If you want to work with somebody who understands, because I've been through all this whole journey, I would love to partner with you as you go through this, taking your power back and defining your goals, learning how you work, accepting yourself, learning nervous system regulation that's adapted for the neurodivergent mind and body. Please do contact me. I love partnering with people in my community. We are so much stronger together, and there's so much potential and just so much good heart and just really great things in our community. And I want to give back to us and to help you. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderfully blessed rest of your day or night or wherever you are, and I'll catch you another time. Bye.